stop letting other people control your mood. Let's confront the next illusion. Most people believe their emotions are private, personal, internal. They're not. For most people, emotions are outsourced. Outsourced to opinions, outsourced to reactions, outsourced to how other people behave. That's dangerous. If another person can control your mood, they control your behavior. If they control your behavior, they influence your outcomes. And if they influence your outcomes, they shape your life. That's the key. You cannot claim self-mastery while handing emotional authority to strangers, coworkers, partners, or critics. Yet most people do it daily. Someone compliments them, they feel high. Someone criticizes them, they feel low. Someone ignores them, they feel insecure. Someone disrespects them, they feel angry. Notice the pattern. Their inner state is constantly reacting to external input. That's not awareness, that's dependency. You have a choice. You can continue letting other people determine how you feel, or you can take that authority back. But first, you must see the cost. Every time your mood changes because of someone else, you are paying attention tax, energy tax, focus tax, and the bill is steep. Let's talk about validation. Validation is one of the most socially accepted forms of emotional weakness. People dress for it, speak for it, post for it, work for it.
They don't say what they mean. They say what will be approved. They don't do what's right. They do what will be praised. And when praise disappears, motivation collapses. That's not confidence. That's conditioning. It's not about self-esteem. It's about discipline. You don't need their permission to feel steady. You don't need their approval to move forward. That's the key. When you depend on validation, you also inherit vulnerability. Because the same people who can lift your mood can destroy it. Compliments and insults are two sides of the same leash. If praise controls you, criticism owns you. Think about criticism. Most criticism hurts not because it's true, but because it hits identity. Someone questions your competence, your intelligence, your value, and suddenly your emotional state is hijacked. You replay the comment, you defend internally, you fantasize about comebacks. Hours of mental energy gone. For what? One opinion. Here's the truth. Other people do not live in your head rent-free. You put them there. You give them access. You have a choice. When someone criticizes you, you can observe it, or you can absorb it. Observation keeps power. Absorption hands it away. That's the key. Now let's talk about disrespect. Disrespect is one of the most common emotional traps. Someone cuts you off, talks over you, dismisses you, and your body reacts instantly. Heat, tension, urgency. The impulse says, correct this now. But immediate correction is rarely effective. It escalates. It exposes sensitivity. It confirms that they touched a nerve. You don't need their permission to remain composed. You don't need their approval to delay response.
Discipline does not mean you accept disrespect. It means you choose how and when to address it. Timing is power. Delayed response communicates confidence. Measured response communicates authority. Emotional response communicates insecurity. That's not about pride, it's about control. Let's be precise. If someone disrespects you and you explode, they win twice. They disrupt your emotional state, and they dictate your behavior. If someone disrespects you and you stay calm, they lose leverage. They don't know how to affect you. They don't know where your buttons are. Calm creates ambiguity. Ambiguity creates discomfort for them. That's the key. Now consider comparison. Comparison is silent emotional sabotage. You see someone else's success, their progress, their attention, and your mood shifts. You feel behind, inferior, restless.
But nothing in your actual life changed, only perception did. Comparison hands emotional authority to someone else's timeline. That's not ambition, that's distraction. It's not about motivation, it's about discipline. You don't need their permission to move at your pace. You don't need their permission to build quietly. Comparison steals focus. Focus builds results. Choose wisely. Here is a practical framework you will start using immediately. When your mood changes because of someone else, ask this question: did I consciously choose this reaction? If the answer is no, you've just identified a leak, a power leak. Now plug it. How? By creating rules. Rules remove emotion from decision-making. Here are 3 rules you will adopt. Rule 1. Do not emotionally react to opinions from people who do not live with the consequences of your life. That eliminates most noise. Rule 2. Do not seek emotional reassurance during moments of uncertainty. Uncertainty is not a problem, it's a condition of growth. Rule 3. Do not explain yourself to regain emotional comfort. Over-explaining is an attempt to control perception. Control yourself instead. That's the key. This chapter is not about isolation, it's about insulation. You can be connected without being controlled. You can listen without absorbing. You can observe without reacting. That's emotional maturity. And maturity is quiet. Most people advertise their feelings. Disciplined people manage them. You have a choice. You can continue letting other people pull emotional strings, or you can cut the strings entirely. And when you do, something powerful happens. Your mood stabilizes, your focus sharpens, your confidence becomes internal. You stop riding emotional waves created by others. You create your own baseline, and that baseline becomes strength. You don't need their permission to be steady. You don't need their permission to remain unmoved. That stability is not accidental. It's trained. You've now learned something critical. Your emotions are not you. Reaction is weakness. Calm is a weapon, and other people do not get to control your internal state. But there is still one habit that quietly destroys emotional authority more than almost anything else. It feels productive. It feels social. It feels harmless, but it drains power. You've stopped reacting. You've stopped outsourcing your mood. Now it's time to master what you don't say.
Discipline begins with silence. Silence is misunderstood. Most people think silence is absence, awkwardness, weakness. It's not. Silence is control without explanation, and control without explanation is one of the highest forms of discipline. Most people talk too much, not because they are confident, but because they are uncomfortable. They speak to release tension. They explain to relieve anxiety. They justify to regain emotional balance. Talking becomes self-soothing. That's the problem. When you speak impulsively, you leak power. When you explain emotionally, you expose insecurity. When you fill silence automatically, you reveal need. That's the key. Silence is not about hiding. It's about not volunteering weakness. You have a choice. You can speak to feel better, or you can stay silent to stay in control. Most people choose relief. Disciplined people choose control. Look at arguments again. The person who talks first usually loses leverage. They rush to clarify, rush to defend, rush to prove, and the more they explain, the more material they give away. Silence forces the other person to reveal themselves. That's power. In negotiation, silence is pressure. In conflict, silence is restraint. In leadership, silence is authority. Yet most people fear it, because silence removes feedback, and without feedback, ego feels unsafe. So they talk. They explain their intentions, their reasons, their emotions. They don't need to. You don't need their permission to stay quiet. You don't need their permission to think. That's the key. Let's be precise. Silence does not mean you never speak. It means you speak on purpose. It means words are tools, not reflexes. Reactive speech is emotional. Intentional speech is disciplined. It's not about being mysterious. It's about being measured. Now, look at venting. Venting is one of the most socially accepted ways people sabotage emotional control. They call it processing. They call it getting it out. But most venting reinforces emotional patterns instead of resolving them. You repeat the story, you repeat the emotion, you deepen the groove, and you feel temporarily lighter, but weaker, because you trained your nervous system to associate emotion with expression, instead of emotion with control. That's the key.
This doesn't mean you never speak to anyone. It means you choose when, why, and to whom. Most people vent to feel understood. Disciplined people process to regain clarity. Different goal, different outcome. Silence forces internal processing, and internal processing builds emotional strength. Here's the truth. If you can't sit with your emotion in silence, you don't control it. You're avoiding it. Silence is where emotions either settle or expose your lack of discipline. That's why it's uncomfortable. That discomfort is training. Now consider explanation. Over-explaining is emotional leakage. You explain because you want approval, you want understanding, you want relief from uncertainty. But every unnecessary explanation weakens your position. It signals doubt. Confident people state. Insecure people justify. It's not about arrogance. It's about clarity. You don't need their permission to make decisions. You don't need their permission to set boundaries. Silence after a decision is strength. Now let's talk about presence. Have you noticed that the most respected people in a room often say the least? They don't rush to comment, they don't interrupt, they don't fill space. They observe. Observation sharpens judgment. Judgment guides action. Talking too much dulls both. Silence gives you information. Information gives you leverage. That's the key. Here is a simple behavioral instruction you will begin using immediately. Before you speak, ask yourself one question. Does this increase my control or decrease it? If it decreases control, don't say it. Not later, not softer. Don't say it. You are not obligated to respond immediately. You are not obligated to explain yourself. You are not obligated to react verbally. Silence is a response, a powerful one. Let's look at disrespect again. Someone tries to provoke you verbally. They want reaction. They want engagement. They want confirmation that they matter. Silence denies all three. It doesn't escalate, it doesn't submit, it neutralizes. That's discipline. And discipline confuses people who are used to emotional access. They don't know how to handle someone who doesn't react on cue. That's power. Now here's the part most people miss. Silence is not emptiness, it's containment. You are containing emotion instead of leaking it. Contained emotion doesn't disappear, it transforms. It becomes focus, it becomes resolve, it becomes patience. Patience is not passive waiting, it's active restraint. And restraint builds authority. The faster you react, the more power you give away. The more you talk emotionally, the more power you give away. Silence keeps it. This will feel unnatural at first. You will feel the urge to speak, to clarify, to defend. That urge is habit, and habits resist change. Let it pass. Urges peak, then fall. Every time you resist the urge to speak impulsively, you strengthen control. You are training a new default. Silence before speech, thought before reaction, discipline before relief. That's the key. This chapter is not about becoming distant, it's about becoming deliberate. You still communicate, but your communication is clean, sparse, intentional. People begin to listen differently, because when you speak less, your words matter more. Now connect this back to everything you've learned. You separated yourself from emotions. You stopped reacting automatically. You learned to stay calm. You stopped letting others control your mood. Silence is the glue that holds all of that together. Without silence, control leaks out through your mouth. With silence, control consolidates. You don't need their permission to be quiet. You don't need their permission to think. Silence is not absence, it's preparation. And preparation is power.
You've mastered what you feel. You've mastered how you react. You've mastered what you don't say. Now it's time to confront discomfort itself, because discomfort is where discipline is forged. You've learned to stay silent. Now let's talk about why pain is not the enemy.